Former President Donald J. Trump has directly appealed to Russian President Vladimir Putin in a move that has surprised many political observers and analysts around the world. Trump's plea urged Putin to guarantee the safety of Ukrainian soldiers allegedly trapped in the Russian city of Kursk. These soldiers are reportedly in a precarious situation surrounded by Russian forces with limited options for escape. This development has sparked intense debate, with experts struggling to decipher the motivations and potential consequences of Trump's actions. Some believe it is a genuine humanitarian effort, while others suspect it may be a strategic move to influence international relations. While some reports suggest the soldiers were encircled during a covert operation, the Kremlin has denied any knowledge of their presence. This denial has only added to the confusion and speculation surrounding the situation. Trump, citing unnamed intelligence sources, insists the soldiers are in grave danger and has called upon Putin to show mercy. He has emphasized the urgency of the situation, stating that immediate action is necessary to prevent a potential tragedy. His direct communication with Putin, bypassing official diplomatic channels, has raised eyebrows and fueled speculation about his motives. Critics argue that such actions could undermine established diplomatic protocols and create further tensions. The response from the Biden administration has been cautious, emphasizing the need for Russia to adhere to international law and respect Ukraine's sovereignty. Officials have reiterated their commitment to supporting Ukraine and ensuring that any actions taken are in line with international norms and agreements. Trump's motives in reaching out to Putin are multifaceted and complex. They are not easily categorized into simple binaries of good or bad intentions. His actions are subject to intense scrutiny from both his supporters and critics alike, each interpreting his moves through their own lenses. On the surface, his appeal for the Ukrainian soldiers' safety can be interpreted as a humanitarian gesture, a call for peace and protection of innocent lives caught in the conflict. However, cynics view this move as a calculated political maneuver, a ploy to bolster his standing with certain segments of the electorate who are dissatisfied with the current administration. By positioning himself as a potential mediator in the Ukraine conflict, Trump aims to appeal to voters disillusioned with the Biden administration's handling of the crisis. He seeks to present himself as a viable alternative, someone who can bring about change. Furthermore, Trump's actions could be interpreted as an attempt to undermine President Biden's foreign policy agenda, casting doubt on the current administration's strategies and decisions. By engaging directly with Putin, Trump implicitly challenges the Biden administration's more confrontational approach towards Russia, suggesting that dialogue and negotiation might be more effective. Skeptics argue that he is exploiting a tragic situation for political gain, hoping to portray himself as a strong and decisive leader. They believe his actions are more about personal ambition than genuine concern for global peace. Trump's direct appeal to Putin comes amid growing calls for a negotiated settlement to the Russia-Ukraine war. His actions have injected new uncertainty into the already complex geopolitical landscape. Some view his unconventional approach and willingness to engage with Putin as potentially beneficial. They point to his past interactions with Putin as evidence of his ability to forge agreements. Others express deep skepticism, pointing to Trump's unpredictable nature and history of making decisions based on personal relationships. The Biden administration faces a delicate balancing act, avoiding escalating tensions with Russia while not appearing weak. The situation underscores the complexities of the ongoing conflict and the challenges in finding a peaceful resolution. As the war in Ukraine grinds on, the human cost continues to escalate, leaving the nation grappling with profound exhaustion. The relentless bombardment of cities and infrastructure has displaced millions and shattered the economy. The Ukrainian military is facing mounting challenges, struggling to replenish depleted ammunition stockpiles and replace destroyed equipment. The economic consequences of the war are dire, with key industries decimated and critical infrastructure in ruins. Despite these immense challenges, the Ukrainian people have displayed remarkable resilience and determination. However, as the conflict drags on, the toll on morale and the social fabric of the nation is becoming increasingly apparent. The prospect of a negotiated settlement, even one involving painful concessions, may hold increasing appeal for a population weary of war. The specter of territorial concessions hangs heavy over any discussion of a negotiated settlement in Ukraine. As the war enters its third year, the notion of ceding land in exchange for peace is gaining traction in some circles. Proponents argue that it represents the most realistic path to ending the bloodshed and preventing further suffering. However, the idea of territorial concessions remains deeply controversial, both within Ukraine and among its international supporters. Critics argue that it would reward Russia's aggression and set a dangerous precedent. The Ukrainian government faces an agonizing dilemma, acknowledging the need for a negotiated solution while refusing to cede any territory. Public opinion within Ukraine remains overwhelmingly opposed to territorial concessions, viewing it as a betrayal of those who have fought and died defending the country. A neutral buffer. Can non-NATO powers guarantee stability? The concept of a neutral buffer zone has emerged as a potential element of a negotiated settlement. This proposal seeks to address Russia's security concerns while preserving Ukraine's territorial integrity. The proposed buffer zone would involve the creation of a demilitarized area along Ukraine's eastern border with Russia, patrolled by a multinational peacekeeping force. Proponents argue that it could provide the necessary security guarantees to Russia, facilitating a withdrawal of its forces from Ukrainian territory. They suggest that countries like China, India, or Brazil could play a constructive role in monitoring the buffer zone. However, skeptics question the viability of such an arrangement, arguing that it would be difficult to enforce and could create a new source of instability. A change in course. Will Ukraine concede for peace? The question of whether Ukraine is willing to alter its strategic course to achieve peace remains pivotal. Currently, Ukraine remains resolute in its refusal to cede any territory and demands the complete withdrawal of Russian forces. However, the immense pressure of the war's toll on the nation's resources, infrastructure, and people cannot be ignored. A shift in Ukraine's strategy could involve a willingness to engage in negotiations that include discussions about territorial concessions in exchange for a guaranteed end to the fighting. Such a move would require immense political capital and carry the risk of internal backlash and accusations of betrayal. The decision ultimately rests with the Ukrainian people and their elected leaders, with the international community respecting Ukraine's right to self-determination. The West's dilemma: accepting peace without guarantees? The potential for a negotiated settlement in Ukraine presents the West with a complex dilemma. The desire to end the bloodshed must be weighed against the potential consequences of a settlement that could be perceived as rewarding Russian aggression. A key concern for the West is the lack of trust in Russia's willingness to abide by the terms of any agreement. Past experience raises legitimate doubts about Russia's commitment to upholding international law and respecting Ukraine's sovereignty. The West must consider the potential ramifications of a peace deal that includes territorial concessions by Ukraine. Ultimately, the West must decide whether the potential benefits of ending the war outweigh the risks of a protracted conflict with unpredictable consequences. A future uncertain. Navigating the unpredictable path ahead. As the war in Ukraine enters its third year, the path ahead remains shrouded in uncertainty. The conflict has left cities in ruins and countless lives disrupted with no clear end in sight. The resilience of the Ukrainian people is evident, but the toll of the ongoing violence is immeasurable. The possibility of a negotiated settlement, while offering a glimmer of hope, is fraught with complexities and potential pitfalls. Diplomatic efforts have been ongoing, but the road to peace is never straightforward. Each negotiation brings its own set of challenges, with both sides wary of making concessions. Trump's unexpected intervention has injected a new element of unpredictability into an already volatile situation. His statements and actions have sparked both support and outrage, adding another layer of complexity to the conflict. The international community watches closely, uncertain of his true intentions. His motives remain subject to intense scrutiny, and the potential consequences of his actions are difficult to predict. Analysts and experts debate the possible outcomes, but the situation remains fluid. The media's role in shaping public perception cannot be underestimated, as every move is dissected and discussed. Whether his involvement will prove to be a catalyst for peace or further complicate an already intractable conflict remains to be seen. The stakes are high, and the world holds its breath, hoping for a resolution that will bring lasting peace to the region. The coming months will be crucial in determining the trajectory of the conflict. Time is of the essence, and every passing day brings new developments. The soldiers on the ground remain vigilant, aware that the situation can change in an instant. The outcome will depend on a multitude of factors, including the evolving military situation on the ground and the willingness of both sides to engage in meaningful negotiations. Strategic decisions made now will have long-lasting impacts, shaping the future of the region. The world is watching, hoping for a swift and just end to the conflict, but bracing for the possibility of a protracted and increasingly dangerous confrontation. Humanitarian efforts continue, providing aid to those in need, but the ultimate resolution remains uncertain. The global community remains engaged, seeking a path to peace amidst the chaos.